Ministry podcast, coming to you every third Monday of the month. And today's topic is going to be about diversity of youth ministry. So I have my guy here, Pastor Steve Grays of the Belvedere Baptist Church, all the way from Grandview, Missouri, to help us talk about that. So some of the things we'll be talking about today are methods of reaching youth in different areas. Does each method work for every youth ministry? What makes the difference? So what makes the difference of if this will work here or what won't work in another ministry? And some suggestions to help all youth pastors. We always want to close out that way to give you some strategy and some insight on things that you can do to help in your respective youth ministry. So Pastor Steve, talk to me and tell me, does every method work for every youth ministry, and what will make the difference?
Does every method work for every youth ministry? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. The needs and desires of youth ministry A won't be the same as the needs and desires of youth ministry B.
Why is that?
Well, it's because people are different. Mm-hmm. You have different neighborhoods, everything is different from place to place. The kid down the street isn't the same as the kid right here. Mm-hmm. So if you have youth ministry A, and the youth and in that particular ministry, they love to sing, they love music, while the kids in youth ministry B, they don't like to sing, but they love technology, they love Facebook, they love Twitter. You have to connect with the youth in youth ministry A via music, because that's what they like, that's their thing. Whereas youth ministry B, I can't connect with those kids with music because they don't like music, but they love technology. Therefore, I can use Facebook, I can use Twitter, I can use Snapchat and things like that, because that's their thing. So why is every youth ministry different? Because everybody has their different needs.
Right, and one of the things to bridge off of what you're talking about, that I believe that every youth minister should do when you're taking on a youth ministry, just like you would if you were starting a church as a senior pastor. Yeah. I really believe that you should do a demographic study to learn who's in your area, who you're going to be servicing, because like you said, that's going to determine what you do. Because here at the church that I serve at, we're in Johnson County, and anybody that's familiar with Kansas City and knows Johnson County knows that this is, I call it Rich Sedityville. And so I can't do a marching drum band out here and expect for my kids to get on board with that, because in Sedityville, we are technology. We are Snapchat and all those different things. So they want to be reached with technology. They don't want to be reached with anything that causes a lot of commitment, because they got sports, they've got all these different things pulling on their time. So yeah, those are the things. And another thing with that, it makes a difference based off of the area of town. Yeah. So versus that technology bit might work out here. When I go in the city, I could do a marching drum band. Why?
Most definitely.
Yeah, because that's more of an urban thing that the urban core would like, and those are things that would work. So with doing that, what are some methods that you would maybe suggest? So if you were out here versus out there, what are some different things that you would maybe suggest that we do to help in those areas of ministry?
If I was out here or anywhere else, I'll look at my current situation at Belvedere Heights Baptist Church. I'm the youth pastor in a very close-knit community. Everybody in that community, they know each other. Therefore, they share in each other's successes and they share in each other's failures. So what I've had to do with my youth is I've had to implant myself within that organism that they've already built, so that I can best serve their needs. My kids aren't singers, and that's what I have, but I made them sing a couple Sundays ago.
Oh, really?
And they didn't like it. But my kids are not singers, and they're not the technology fanatics. My kids are we just want to hang out and be together fanatics. So that's what I do there. I bring us together as much as possible. Whereas if I was out here, where I have kids who like to sing, I have kids who like video games, and I also have the resources at my disposal to provide those various outlets for them, that's what I would do. I'm gonna meet them wherever they are, and at the same time, you also have to see what the parents need. Because as a youth pastor, of course our mission is the youth.
Right.
But reaching them starts with the head.
Yeah, reaching the parent.
And if the head is sick and not desiring anything, then the rest of the body will also follow. And that goes the same with parent and child. If the parent doesn't want anything to do with the church, I don't care what you tell me about the church. You can have an Xbox One, a PS4, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, RapSnap, Twitter, whatever. You can have all of that. I don't want nothing to do with it because it's the church. The child is like, me neither.
Because what they see displayed at home from the parents
Absolutely.
is going to be what's carried over, and it shoots a lot of leaders down. Because even I'll liken it to again the adult church. If they see the parents serve a dislike for the leader, and they're talking about this leader at home, then what do you think the kids gonna do? When they come to church, they're gonna act funny, or they're gonna treat that leader a certain way because their parents have a disdain for this particular leader.
Absolutely.
So with that here, like you said, it's based off of the areas and what the needs of the parents are. Even here in our particular ministry, I think it was very wise what Broderick did. My successor, or the one who preceded me, my predecessor, he started a thing called PEP here. So we have the parents encouraging parents, and I believe that that's very important. It's kind of like our own PTA. To keep the parents involved, and the lady who runs that here at our ministry, she does an excellent job.
Nice.
We do conference calls every week. Sometimes I get busy and I can't get on them, but they're really good. And then once a month they have an in-house meeting here at the church where they get together. They discuss topics that they come up with of what they're dealing with at home, and then me as the youth leader, I'm able to come in and bridge the gap. So they're coming from a parent's perspective, and me being in the ministry to see what the youth are dealing with, I'm able to say, well, from their perspective, this is how they see that same issue. And we come together so I can now give them instruction. So this is how you deal with this issue that they're going through. And then they come back and say, okay, well, from our end, we want them to do this, and they won't do it. So now I can say, okay, this is how you get them to do it, because you need to meet them right here.
Most definitely.
That brings about another question. What is the key to your particular strategy of your youth ministry? What are the things that you personally do besides just engrafting yourself in the community? What are some of the structural things that you would recommend to a youth leader that's struggling?
Man, that's a good one. I myself, my biggest thing is I believe that every pastor should have transparency, consistency, relevance, and passion. You should be transparent. They should see that. They should be able to see that you bleed like they bleed. You should be consistent. If you say you're gonna be there, be there. You should be relevant. Meet me where I am. And what you're bringing me needs to be what I need right now. And in the passion, like, you have to have that connection with Christ. So what I do, me in particular, my youth, they know I sweat. And when I say they know I sweat, that means my youth, I allow them to see me fail just as much as they see me succeed.
That's great.
And you'll have people that'll say, that's crazy. You shouldn't do that. That works for you. But me, I'll give you an instance. What my youth just made me realize is that our ministry scripture, 1 Timothy 4:12, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example in conduct, in purity, and pretty much in all that you do. That was our ministry scripture that I prayed on and believed that God gave me when I came December 2016. I mean December 2015. And in December 2016, 1 year in, I said, what's our ministry scripture? Nobody could tell me. And I let them know that them not knowing that showed me where I failed. But before I harped on that failure and how we would turn that failure into a success, I celebrated our successes first. No matter how big, no matter how small, we celebrate the successes. And that's me, because I believe that that's critical, because so many of these young people are dealing with things in their home that you may never know about.
Wow, yeah.
And if all you do is beat them over the head and tell them how sinful you are, how bad you are, how displeased with you God is, you ain't doing nothing no different than what society is already doing. Mm-hmm. So what I do as their pastor, and believe it or not, to some of these kids, you're not just their pastor, you're their father.
Yeah.
You're their church dad.
Yep.
I encourage them. I love on them. I pour into them, but I let them know I sweat. Mm-hmm. I bleed. They've seen me come in discouraged. Mm-hmm. A couple of weeks ago, I preached on Christmas Sunday. And when the youth walked in my office every Sunday, all the kids that come for Sunday school, they all pile in my office. And we'll just talk. But when they all came in my office, I was crying and praying. Mm-hmm. And they all just stood there. And it was, when I opened my eyes, it was about 12 kids standing here. And they started rubbing my back. And, are you okay? Yeah, I'm all right. Mm-hmm. I was having a moment of praise, a moment of worship, because, you know, I was about to do something that to me was huge. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I let them, they know I sweat. Mm-hmm. I celebrate our successes before our failures. And I mean, here's the third thing that I do. I'm very hands-on. Mm-hmm. I have young people that I'll talk to outside of church, and it's just, hey, what's up? Mm-hmm. I think I'm cool. My kids say I'm not cool, but I think I'm cool. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when I see them, I'm like, yo, what up, yo? Mm-hmm. And they like, hey, Pastor Steve, chill out. Mm-hmm. But that's funny. I let them know I'm here for you. Right. You know, no matter when you need me, call me. That's why I'm here. If I'm not in this office and you need me, you got my phone number. Mm-hmm. Call me. Yep. So.
And that's how it should be, you know. Yeah. I want to touch on that part that you mentioned about transparency and about showing them that you bleed. Yeah. I think that is very important, that they see you transparent with them and that you're able to openly express, hey, the same things that you're going through, I've been through those things before, and that's how I'm able to stand up here and to declare to you what you don't have to do, because I've been there before. Yeah. And I know how to coach you through this thing. Another thing is consistency. I majorly believe in consistency. If you ever want to be successful at anything, you got to stay consistent at it. Even if you don't want to, even if it seems like you're failing at it, even if it seems like it's not going to make it anywhere, you have to be consistent. How do I know? Because I failed before. And so now I'm able to tell you that you have to be willing to go the distance. If you want to see success in anything that you're doing, you have to be willing to go the distance, especially with young people, because in the beginning of getting it, or getting a youth ministry or a ministry period, you are fighting to win the trust of the people. Exactly. You are fighting to win the confidence of the people. So if you're not consistent, everything that you say or everything that you do loses credibility. Yeah. Because you're not consistent at what you're doing. So how can I trust what you say? I can even admit and say I, in the past, have lost friendships or relationships at that because of not being consistent, not following through, saying one thing and then do a total opposite of what I said that I was going to do. And I've learned, man, through trial and error, that you have to be consistent. It's very important. They want to see that you consistently love on them. No matter if they tick you off, like man, I wish these was my kids, because I would sock them.
Knock them out.
Right. You can't do that. You still have to love on them. You still have to treat them with respect. You have to still treat them kind in order to win them over, to be like, okay, yeah, this dude, he gonna tell me about myself, but he loves me, so I'm good with him. And those things are very, 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 very important. I think a lot of people miss that. Leaders are scared to be vulnerable sometimes.
Real quick, two things about the trust issue.
Yeah, sure.
When I first got to the ministry I'm in, I had a couple of young men who came to me and was like, man, I don't trust you. I don't trust nobody. And they were sizing me up, y'all. These dudes were sizing me up. And I said, that's fine, I don't trust you either. And when I told them that, they was like, well, hold on, you kind of supposed to trust me, you the youth pastor. I said, nah, man, I don't trust you. Mm-hmm. Well, how can I make you trust me? I said, how can I make you trust me? Oh. And they were just like, just be here for me. And I was like, okay, be here for me. Mm-hmm. And here we are a year later. man, them dudes are great.
That's funny.
They'll do whatever I ask them to do. And then on the thing of, I let them see, they know I sweat. I remember, in particular, one Tuesday night, we've switched our Bible studies to Wednesday. We used to be on Tuesday.
Right.
And there was one particular Tuesday, when I say, man, I was having a rough week. My week was rough. The enemy was busy. And instead of getting my armor and going to war, I was like, nah, man, I got this one. And let me tell you something. I went into that Bible study that Tuesday, and as I began to get into my lesson, I began to cry. And this particular day, I had about 35 young people. And they're in a circle looking at me, and I'm crying. I'm 200 and something pounds crying. And I was just telling them how sometimes God will protect you from you. And I was telling them how things were going just crazy, and I was ready to make a hasty decision. And instead of God allowing me to make that decision and bump my head, he protected me from me. Sometimes the devil ain't got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's you.
It is.
But God, in his infinite grace, sometimes will step in and say, J Mack, you tripping. See them chairs? Find one and sit in it.
Yeah.
And those young people that night, some of them came to me and cried and was telling me different issues that they're going through, and asking me to pray for them. And they were saying how they wanted God's protection and God's covering. And that moment of transparency for me, you know, here I am, I'm having a moment of transparency because I'm dealing with something, but me letting them know that I'm dealing with something, you know, open them up to let me know, hey, I'm dealing with something too. I need your prayer. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And see, those things here, I can say that I've had a situation similar to that. I remember, I'll never forget, one of my first weeks back here. I have never, and let's see, how many years have I done this? Without the gap of time, and I've done it for about 4 years. So without the gap of time, I have never once been sent home in tears, except for this time coming back. Because I had one cat, because, you know, with our structure, one of the things that we try to do is I try to do an icebreaker with them. So I'll do an activity each week. And I was telling them, you know, let's go into the activity. Praise and worship was done. And I had one kid who was like, I don't care what activity you do, I'm not participating.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh.
There's always one.
It's always one.
Always one.
Okay, and that same night, I asked one of the kids, can you come and do the offering for me now? Like, we have a structure in place now, and I have staff, but in the middle of the transition, I'm like, can you come and do offering for me? No.
So you got two?
Yeah, I got two. Shoot, we had a whole bunch of them, but God is, you know, repairing and fixing things for us. So, like I said, I definitely can understand and relate to those things.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
you know, those same kids or those same teenagers that gave me those challenges, now over time of being here and being consistent with them, I can ask them to do stuff, and they may not want to do it. Because, you know, no teenager really wants to be up in the forefront or do those things for real, unless you bribe them with money or something, then they'll come up there. The whole stage will be filled in.
I bribe mine with pizza.
You bribe them? Yeah, we're doing that this week. So we'll have pizza and gift cards and all that stuff for them. So, yeah, that stuff always gets them to come. But because of consistency and showing that I love you and I'm not going to get upset with you because you don't do what I'm telling you to do. You gotta do what I'm saying to do, you know, then they're able to receive from you, and they learn and grow from you as a result of you showing them kindness. What does the Bible say? With love and kindness have I what? I've drawn thee with love and kindness. So I'm loving them. You know, a lot of times we have a problem with condemning people. We condemn people versus loving them, and we can love people out of things quicker than we can by condemning them. If we continue to condemn people, we stop people and we hinder them, even with these young people, we hinder them from being free from a lot of bondages and things that they're dealing with, a lot of issues. We can stop suicide. Yeah. We can stop different issues that they're going on. We can stop depression. We have the power to fix these things. People don't need to hear that they're sick.
I was say, quit telling me I'm jacked up. I know that.
Yeah, they
Tell
need
me
to
how
hear
to
the
get better.
Yeah, they need to hear the answer to the problem.
Yeah.
People who are messed up already know. Young people that are messed up already know that they're messed up. You know the thing that really jacked me up when I first came back. One of the things I do, I love a lot of feedback. So I allow the young people to express how they feel, and I was expecting
That's
them.
fun and scary.
Yeah, I allow them to do that. So I do surveys, and so when I first came back, I did a survey, and I was expecting to say we missing out because we're not getting the games, because we're not getting this, we're not getting that, all the exciting stuff. We don't do we haven't done outings in a minute. But the thing that they said that they missed the most, that they felt like they weren't really receiving anything from the content of the word. So now with me being in this position, I'm like, okay, well, I've got to fix that. I've got to fix that problem.
That's that relevance part gone.
Yep. So they're like, okay, so they're teaching, the people that's been teaching have been teaching, but we're not getting anything out of what's being taught. So now my challenge is to make sure that everything that I do for them sticks, because you need the answer to the problem. You already know that you have a problem. And they're young and realize that the fact that they're saying we want to learn, meaning that I know that I messed up, but I need to know the solution on how to get out of this.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Like I taught this lesson, and I'm going to finish this lesson now that the new year is hit, and it was talking about friendship. I know that's really kind of funny to say friendship, but I ended up naming the lesson "Getting to Know You," because they were singing "Getting to Know You, Getting to Know All About You." And I asked them one Wednesday night. I said, "What are the characteristics of a friend?" Loyal, kind, loving, faithful, considerate. They listen to your problems. They love you. And I said, okay, well, if these are the characteristics of a friend, can you say that you've been a true friend to God? And I based it off of John chapter 15, verse 15, where it talks about, I no longer call you a servant, but now I call you a friend, because the servant doesn't know what the master is doing. But I've made you privy to these things, so I can't call you a servant anymore. And they all were sitting there like, wow, I never thought about it like that. So then I took it a step further and I said to them, okay, well, on top of that, you said one of the characteristics of a friend is that you love them. Yeah. But if you're saying that you've never taken the time to have a relationship, you've never taken the time to get to know him, how can you say that you truly love God and you don't know him? Exactly. And they're like, whoa. So now my challenge is in this new year with finishing this series is to get them to a place that they have a relationship with him. Even I've been teaching adults. I've been saying that 80% of people that come to church were just coming out of religion and not relationship. I'm trying to transition them into a place now of relationship. Yeah. That you're not just coming here because we're going to have good singing, because we're going to give you gift cards, because we're going to give you money, because we're going to put something in your hand, or it's going to be fun, or because you see a girl that look real good, so you come in the Bible study, or you see the dudes that look real good. But now get you to a place that you're coming here for substance.
Yeah, you're coming here for Christ.
So the last thing before we close, because I know we're getting really close to our time. What are some, I know you gave those tools, but what's one suggestion, if you could give anything, that will really stick to a youth pastor? What's a suggestion for them?
Greatest one of all. You got to stay connected to God.
Okay.
Nothing else we've said today matters if you are not connected to the source.
Yes, sir.
You have to be connected to the source. Our strength is limited. His is unlimited. Our wisdom is limited.
That's right.
His is unlimited. You have to stay connected to the source.
Yep.
I get frustrated. I get tired. Some Wednesdays I don't want, here, I'll give it to you this way. Sometimes Stevie don't want to pray. Sometimes Stevie don't want to read his Bible. Sometimes Stevie don't want to be bothered.
That's right.
But when Stevie realizes that he's not just Stevie, he's been called to be Pastor Steve, which means you have to stay connected to your source in order to walk in what I call you to walk in.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do don't matter, because you ain't doing it for you.
That's a message.
What you don't, where you don't want to be, don't matter, because you ain't doing it for you.
That's right.
You're doing it for the edification of Christ. Therefore, you gotta stay connected to your source. Man, we get complacent. You got 150 chairs in your auditorium, and you fill them up every Wednesday for Bible study. This is just youth. It's really easy to look at that and say, I'm rolling.
Yeah.
I ain't studying. I do this every week and they packing it out. I don't need to pray. I don't need to read my Bible. I can get up there and just do this with my eyes closed. And before you realize it, that 150 turn into 125, 100, 75, 50, 25. And before you know it, you're standing there by yourself. But you're not standing in your auditorium. You're standing in the wilderness because you are disconnected from your source.
You know, my friend Lauren says it this way. He says, some of us, we have a tendency that we'll let God take us so far. And then when we get to a certain level, we kiss God goodbye. And we think we can do it on, we think we can do it on our own.
You have to stay connected to your source. Last night I talked about, I said it's time to release. And I was talking about letting go of burdens, and I was using the analogy of how an airplane flies. The weight of the wind and gravity pushes down on the airplane, thus keeping the airplane grounded. But the thrust has to be greater than that which is pushing it down to make it elevate.
Wow.
The thrust is Christ. If you don't have that source, you won't elevate. So you got to stay connected to your source. If you're not connected to your source, nothing else matters.
Wow. Well, you heard it, guys. This has been the Explosive Youth Ministry podcast. And like I said, we'll be coming to you every third Monday of the month just to give you some insight on how to do youth ministry in a more successful way. We want to give you strategy and insight on things that will help you with your youth ministry. I'd like to thank my guest, Pastor Steve Graves of the Belvedere Baptist Church in Grandview, Missouri, for coming and joining me today on the Explosive Youth Ministry podcast. And thank all of you for tuning in. Please give us your feedback and comments. And even if you have topics that you would like for us to address on this podcast that will help you be more successful in ministry, I invite you to send those things to me. Email them to me at justinmackey0@icloud.com, and we'll be more than happy to mention those things on our show. Be blessed.